Hey, Fitheads. Today we talk with Nadia Kumentas, the VP of Marketing at Muse, which is the brain sensing headband. And let me just tell you, for as much as Max and I dump on meditating, after this hour, I now want to meditate. How am I convinced?
First of all, you brushed over brain sensing headband, which immediately grabbed when I first heard about these guys, when we first started talking about them, I was like, yeah. What? So, cool. So it was really fun to deep dive in or like dig our knuckles in or whatever, like figure out what that actually means. It senses, if for better word, I mean, it felt like a Black Mirror episode, frankly. I know I'm sorry she felt like probably sick of that, but it felt for sure like a lot of brain sensing.
Why does everyone say Black Mirror in such a negative way? I'm waiting until we're living in a Black Mirror world.
I know. We're trying as much as we can. We're scanning our blood, our sleep. We're trying to scan as much as everything.
Yeah.
Black Mirror is like glass half empty. We're talking glass half full, baby.
Yeah. Oh, but honestly, it is really cool to hear from her about the data, about why this works, why we should be doing it, and why it directly speaks to the type A type of biohacking, want to improve mind that I am.
Yeah.
And perhaps you too, Max.
Oh, you can't win if you don't keep score. And this is how you keep score meditating. We talked a lot about sleep and sleep quality and dreams. And man, this was a wild one.
Yeah.
Welcome to Total Fitheads. Serious fitness for not so serious people.
Hi, Nadia. Welcome.
Oh, hello.
We're so glad to have you. I'm stoked about this. I've known about Muse for a while. It's going to be great to get direct from someone who knows what this device even is. And actually, can you just give the Fitheads like a background of what we'll be discussing and just what Muse is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm super excited to be chatting with you guys today. So thank you for having me on. And today we're going to be talking about Muse, the brain sensing headband that helps with EEG powered meditation and sleep support.
Love it. We're huge fans of sleep, which we weren't when we started this podcast. And now it suddenly seems like, oh, wow, we have missed the boat on being unconscious. So, okay. EEG is very different than anything we've discussed in the past, even though we have covered sleep a lot. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So EEG is electroencephalography, essentially. So right now, everybody, whether you're awake or you're asleep, your brain naturally emits electrical activity. It's essentially how your cells communicate together. And when all of them communicate in large enough patterns, they create brainwave patterns. So what Muse does is it actually passively senses that electrical activity from your brain and transforms that into real-time feedback so that you can understand the changes in your brain state. And that can get really helpful if you're trying to understand a new tool like meditation. Because for a lot of people, when they start learning about meditation, it can be really hard to understand, am I doing this right? What is it supposed to feel like? What's going on? There's a lot of intangibles that come with meditation versus something like working out, where you have a very physical response, not only from your physicality and feeling when you're working out, but also when you're visibly looking at your body changes, you can see a difference. A lot harder to do that with your brain.
Yeah. For sure. Feedback loop is helpful. Max and I have struggled with meditation in general He's done it a whole lot more than me and still has kind of the same story. Why?
I did my New Year's resolution, whatever it was last year or the year before, was a year of meditation. I did it. It didn't take. I mean, it seemed like it was nice. I'm slightly more mindful, I guess, or aware of my mind states from here to there. But yeah, for sure, that was one of the first things I struggled with, was finding an app that I liked, or a practice that I liked, or a routine where I wasn't constantly like, "Is this it? Am I doing it?" If it feels like I'm screwing it up somehow. So it's really nice to have I mean, we love real-time data on this podcast. We do a lot of stuff with that. Yeah. Can you tell us how, does it guide you in or guide you out? Or?
Yeah, for sure. So essentially we have a couple different, so Muse senses your brain activity, but it also senses your body and biosignals as well. So we've got a PPG sensor for your heart rate. And then we've also got an accelerometer and a gyroscope, which are fancy things for movement and being able to use a combination of those to measure breathing changes. So the Hallmark experience of Muse is essentially our mind biofeedback experience, where you are able to use the guiding sounds of weather to let you know if you are in a distracted state or a focused state. So essentially, while you're meditating, you're going to have your Muse on, you're going to have your headphones on, and you're going to have the Muse app open. You're going to press play on your meditation. You're going to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and naturally, then you're going to start meditating and start thinking about the million emails you want to send, the lunch you didn't make, the meal prep you didn't do, all of the things you're not supposed to be thinking about.
All the mistakes I've ever made in my life.
All of the mistakes you've ever wanted to make. Yeah. And haven't made yet. Which can be really tricky, because when you're meditating, sometimes it can be a really long time before you even realize you're distracted. Right. So what Muse actually does is, as you start to get distracted, you're going to hear a thunderstorm. And that's your cue that you shouldn't be thinking about all the mistakes that you haven't made and are going to make. That is your cue to bring your attention back to your breath. And then once you're able to do that, you're actually going to hear the weather change in real time in response to your brain activity, where the rain will slow down and you're going to hear gentle birdies chirping if you're able to maintain that focus for a period of time. But naturally, as minds do, you're probably going to start thinking about something else again, and that whole series of events will repeat. So we actually call that an attentional loop. So the shorter you're able to kind of reduce that attentional loop, where you've become distracted, you become aware that you've become distracted, and then you're able to bring your attention back to your breath. It's kind of like almost like a bicep rep, right? So the stronger you get at reinforcing that and closing that loop, then the easier it is for you to maintain calm focus. And Muse really uses real-time feedback in order to accelerate that learning.
Well, I imagine you have a ton of data on this. Are you seeing that people start and then they suck and then they get better quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So we have had a lot of success with research. And so Muse is actually a clinical grade EEG tool. So it's actually used in a ton of different types of research, but specifically around meditation. We have seen some really, really awesome responses with individuals using Muse as a device versus just, standard guided meditation or nature sounds, etc. And it really comes down to that two-way conversation, that feedback loop versus just static content that you're listening to.
Right. So the people that are not getting that feedback loop, they just suck for longer. And really.
For sure. And to be fair, and I do like to say this about Muse, our whole ethos at Muse is we want more people meditating. We believe that will ultimately have a huge impact positively on a very wide range of, outcomes and people and relationships and all these beautiful things. Muse can be an amazing tool, but it also isn't for everyone. There's a lot of people that prefer to not have that distraction, prefer to actually have more old school meditation methods. And Muse, and how I actually just described that type of meditation, is specifically known as focused attention meditation. So that's also a little bit different than some other different forms of meditation that people use. Many paths up the mountain. But yeah, there's a long answer to, we've definitely seen Muse work. It works for a lot of people. But we also know that other people have different preferences for how they learn how to meditate.
Okay, so specifically focused attention versus other types. That's what, okay.
Yeah.
And have you seen there's a type of person that likes Muse? Or they have similar qualities?
It's probably the me's and the you's. It's the people who are looking for tangible outputs to be able to measure and track progress. These are individuals who also may have had a difficult time previously. They kind of got into it and were like, yeah, this isn't sticking. So Max, actually, how you were I did it. I did the thing. I think I felt some things, and then the thing ended. That can come because there wasn't necessarily this like tangible, trackable outcome that you were seeing over time. And with meditation, as I mentioned before, because the effects can be sometimes they're wildly profound. For some people, they feel it, and I've had meditations in a stressful time where I exit the session and I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I feel 100 times better. But there's sometimes I do a session and I'm almost more annoyed because I couldn't quiet my brain down. And I was a ex-competitive swimmer, big time performance athlete, went to Olympic trials, did the whole thing, was really big on performance, tangible outcomes, I want to win. I want to meditate and I want to win. Very goal oriented. So Muse does really well. Yeah. So Muse does really well for performance oriented individuals and individuals who really have had that issue of, I don't know if I'm doing this right. And I need to have a little bit more of a tangible output to understand if I'm making progress at all.
It feels like you're selling yourself short a little. It feels like trying to lose weight and weighing yourself without a scale, and then Muse is the scale. Or it seems like, thank you. By the way, thank you so much for using the bicep exercise. Clearly you are reading
no sleeves.
Well,
speaking the language.
You're speaking the language that only we would only understand, I should say. But it seems like instead of picking up a rock that's kind of heavy and then finding another heavier rock, you're like, oh no, this one's 5 pounds, this one's 10 pounds. Is that fair to say, or am I?
That's super fair to say. And to be honest, back in the day, and for individuals who have access to meditation teachers and sanghas or groups, more formal training, there is a feedback and there's a discussion and there's more of this training that you can have with this two-way discussion. Mm-hmm. But for the yous and the me's, I haven't hired a meditation coach. I don't have a monk that I'm sitting with. I don't have a sangha that I go to. So I want something that can do that for me right now. And that is actually what you said, where it's this ability to measure and track. And that ends up being the differentiation between people seeing a difference, feeling good about reaching a goal, and then wanting to actually make a behavioral change because they're seeing progress. And we know, you guys probably know this more than anyone, making behavioral changes really friggin' hard. It's so hard. So anything that helps you kind of measure that helps make that behavior stick.
Even if I had a monk, I would want him to be looking at my Muse data. So he really knew.
For sure.
Keep my score.
Sure. Actually, we did a lot of really cool research. We went up to Mount Everest. We put Muses on monks. We read their brainwaves and had a whole bunch of cool stuff happen. Yeah, it was super cool.
What did you learn?
What is just birds? Birds the whole time?
Well, a lot of that was also around, I mean, for us, it's always good to have comparison data because, so the other thing about Muse is so your brainwaves, you have several different individual, what are known as like band powers. So different frequencies of wavelengths that exist, alpha, beta, gamma, theta, delta. And what happens is if you were to just see that raw data as an individual, it really wouldn't be that useful for you. It would look like a bunch of noise and you'd basically finish your meditation and be like, what does this mean? Do something with this. This means nothing to me. So what Muse did is we actually took, thousands of minutes of meditation from different people, different lengths of time. And we used that to create an algorithm so that we can compress your data, your raw data, into readable and more actionable states. And that's why when you use a Muse device, instead of seeing, these 5 different wavelengths on your screen, you're going to see a chart that says calm, active, and neutral. And it's going to showcase how much time you spent in each state. And so when we do different research, it's always interesting to have benchmark data to understand what different brain pattern signatures happen for different types of meditators at different stages of their meditation practice.
Interesting.
That's
so
awesome.
Were there any phony monks that were just
yeah, we kicked them out.
like faking it?
No, I'm happy to send the research your way afterwards. But no, it was it's all kind of a part of. This goes back to how do we make this accessible? A big thing with Muse is as soon as you tell someone it's a brain sensing headband, they're like, whoa. Is this Black Mirror?
Yeah. It makes me feel a little bit like a squishy robot when you're just talking about the electrical signals going on.
Yeah, a little bit.
But this does remind me of... But Max and I have both done levels where you can see your glucose in real time, cool. Which like you'd eat something and you don't know if it's really good for you until you have body composition changes months later, right? And you still kind of don't know. It's like guessing, but that feedback loop is super helpful to see, corn is really bad for me because you know immediately. So it's like that, but with your brain.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it is. Like the biggest differentiation I've found, and actually I'm curious to hear you guys on this as well, is, there's a ton of super useful wearable tech, especially in the biohacking realm, in the fitness realm. Love Aura, absolutely. Have my own Aura ring. Love it.
What?
Use my
Is that a competitor and a Whoop?
No, this is an Apple Watch. No, different lanes for different players, I would say.
Okay.
I see benefits to multiple, and I also am of the mindset of, everybody has individual needs, and sometimes my data needs and how I'm going to use my fitness trackers are going to benefit me versus another individual. But the tricky thing about most wearables is they really just give you data output and trends, which can be super helpful, but they don't necessarily provide you with an active intervention. And that's kind of the difference between Muse in our meditation zone, as well as in our sleeping benefits. We're able to provide with this real-time feedback, more of an active intervention that can help you when you need it, as opposed to doing the thing, then learning how you did on the thing, and then feeling bad about how you did on the thing, and then not really having anything active to help you with that thing.
Right. Well, since we're talking about Aura, they're doing it based on heart rate, right? Mm-hmm. And how does that compare? Because it seems like both ways you're sort of trying to match the gold standard, but yours is through EEG and theirs is through guessing what the heart rate is doing for each of the sleep stages. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you just nailed it. Most wrist wearables and Aura use heart rate as a proxy measure to determine sleep staging. And for the most part, that can be super accurate. And as a baseline, most consumers would probably find that that would generally be beneficial. It is the gold standard to have. Sleeping happens in the brain. So an EEG measurement is seen as the gold standard, especially in sleep clinics. So that is where Muse carves a little bit more of an accuracy picture that works out well for us. And that is the biggest difference.
Okay. And are you guys doing HRV too, or that's not in your lane?
We're not. Okay. It's not necessarily not in our lane. The tricky thing with HRV is we are actually most likely moving towards HRV for sleep measurements, but you really want to have a consistent long period of data collection for HRV in order for that to be really beneficial during the day. And because you're not wearing your Muse device in between meditation sessions, you're really only getting kind of these acute little snippets of HRV data, whereas a wrist wearable or your Aura ring, you're wearing that all day long. So you're just getting hours and hours and hours of data that can give you a better measurement.
Okay.
But other than looking silly, is there any problem with wearing the Muse all day long?
No, not at all. Just battery life.
What do you mean looking silly?
I was just going to say, you can look pretty cool.
Wear to parties. Yeah. What the heck? Well, there are two different ones, right? There's one that you wear all night, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Good call.
And have you seen that people are wearing that every night? Like I put a Whoop on to go to bed. Is that, or are people sort of once in a while using it to help them go to sleep, but not sleeping with it every night?
What a great question and segue into our different products. Yeah. So we have two major SKUs. One is our Muse 2, which is really focused on daytime support and meditation support. Whereas our Muse S Gen 2, which is our latest model, combines daytime support as well as the overnight sleep tracking, as well as digital sleeping pills and sleep interventions, and is this really plush fabric, flexible, comfy form factor that allows you to wear it overnight very comfortably. Actually, the reason why we developed the Muse S was we were seeing from user behavior that one of the most popular times that our individuals and users were using Muse original and Muse 2 was before bed. And we kind of started looking into that. We also knew our technology and how we might be able to create these interventions. And so we were like, okay, we've got this amazing form factor. That is the Muse 2, which is, for those who are listening and don't have a visual, it's kind of like a pair of sunglasses almost, in a sense that it wraps around the back of your ears and it just sits right in the middle of your forehead. And it's kind of a flexible plastic, but it's a hard material compared to the Muse S, which is, as I mentioned, kind of this plush, almost like a cotton t-shirt type that has the same functionality, but you're able to wear it overnight very comfortably. So that is the major difference between the two. Yeah, I'll take a quick pause.
So what are we tracking at night?
Yeah, so well, dreams. Your hopes, your dreams. So
just send my dreams to the cloud.
I'll look at them later. I don't have time right now.
Oh, I will crush your dreams at another time. So Muse is able to do all of your standard sleep histogram. So that's your all of your sleep staging you're able to see. We also do something that's very unique to only EEG, which is deep sleep intensity and deep sleep points. So that's primarily around your delta wave activity. What Muse is able to do is it's actually able to show you the quality of your deep sleep. So it's taking one step a little bit further. And then we also do position tracking, which is really cool. What I see.
Yeah, you're telling me. Okay, so I've just been working so hard to try and get more deep sleep, but now maybe it's just crap deep sleep and it needs to be better. That's what you're saying? There's a quality of deep.
There is, yeah.
Yeah. Depth.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, sure, if we're trying to PR at sleep, why not have even more metrics?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so that is essentially major areas of tracking your sleep stages, deep sleep intensity. You get a sleep score for that combines several different metrics: time in bed, how long you were there, amount of sleeps in each stage, etc. And then the whole part of, our sleep experience, as I mentioned, is really going beyond just this kind of sleep tracking approach and really being able to actually offer immediate and intelligent sleep support to help you when you want to fall asleep.
What does that mean?
Oh,
it just zaps you?
A small probe.
A pillow comes out and you're just...
No, so we have just released a new intervention called digital sleeping pills. So digital sleeping pills are super cool. They're essentially like, imagine your favorite bedtime story that is able to know when you're falling asleep, quiet itself down, and then cue your brain to slumber. And then if you wake up in the middle of the night thinking about all those dreams that you wish you could have and you can't shut your brain off, it will wake up with you intelligently and then help you fall back asleep again.
Whoa.
I see like the head exploding emoji happen for both of you.
Yeah. I'm not even wearing one. You can see.
So I'm guessing you have lots of data on this too, and you see people fall asleep faster and get better sleep with this digital sleeping pill. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just released. So we are in the process of getting all of that aggregate data together now. Before we released that, actually, we still had go to sleep journeys. So they were responsive in a sense that they respond to your in real time brain activity and body activity and help you fall asleep. And when I say a journey, it's a combination of a voice guidance. So imagine me bringing you through a soothing lavender field. And then in the background, you have gentle nature sounds that are, there you go. And you're asleep.
What happened?
Welcome back. So it's a combination of this, this really beautiful biofeedback nature soundscape and then voice guidance in front of it to help you fall asleep. And then we also have soundscapes that are just the nature soundscape, and then we just have guidance. So again, we learned that sleep is very, very individual. There is not one size fits all, especially when it comes to content. So we wanted to develop a couple different types of that. And we did a really cool recent study that showcased an increased improvement of 20% in general sleep improvements from a group of people that were not using the digital sleeping pill. So we did that study before we even launched the digital sleeping pill. And now we're interested on reviewing that again to see if we can get even better results with the digital sleeping pills intervention.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so then you are giving, like, in the morning scores for how you did, right? Yeah. Yeah.
You get a sleep score. You get to see all of those cool stats that I mentioned. How was my deep sleep? How long was I spending in each of these different sleep stages? What sleeping position did I actually have my best rest in? What was my heart rate? All of these metrics you're able to see in your post-session report.
Interesting. Have you seen any connection between people who meditate during the day and being better sleepers? Have you looked at the data that way?
We haven't done a consolidated approach to that, but I would assume that, because I mean, you're touching on a really important point, which is kind of this, like, there is no silver bullet to sleep support. We know, and you guys probably know this too, there's a lot that goes into improving sleep, and what you do during the day, including what you eat, how you take care of yourself, when you exercise, your stress levels, all of these different things have a massive impact on your sleep. So the whole premise behind Muse is, how do we teach people how to take care of their, their mental resiliency during the day, so then that can also help improve their sleep at night. But we haven't had a hard study on that yet, but that should definitely be on our to-do list.
What about a study between people who meditate and being better CEOs? Like, the idea of like tangible something from meditation, right? Like, we can see that we're getting better at meditating, but then how does that translate to real life?
For sure. And there actually are, I mean, I'd have to do a little digging to see if there's like a baseline metric on CEO excellence and meditation. I'm sure it exists somewhere. But there are definitely a ton of research around, perceived stress management improvement, general relaxation, emotional regulation, focus and cognitive ability. All of these different things actually have been shown with research, not just with Muse, in general, on the tangible benefits of a regular meditation practice. And I do say regular, unfortunately, because it is similar to fitness, where it's not
bicep curls.
It is the bicep curls. Exactly. It's really about creating the habit and training. But the good thing is for most people, and most of the research, people can see a benefit within 4 to 6 weeks. And it doesn't take that long. You don't really need to be doing an hour of meditation a day. It can be 5 to 10 minutes.
That sounds faster than 1 year of nothing, Max.
So actually, Max, do you want to tell me a little bit more about your meditation journey? I feel like we really skimmed over that, but that's a huge thing.
You mean my year-long failure? Sure, let's dive in. Yeah, great. It was on a whim. I needed a New Year's resolution. I had heard so many very cool, smart, powerful, tall, beautiful people say that meditation was the key, that their life changed once they started meditating, and that everything got better. So I downloaded, I think it was Headspace, and I was okay, but I don't know, like, he kept talking in the middle of it. And so then I downloaded another one, 10%, which I really liked, because they would give you something tangible to think about. But I hesitate to call it a total colossal failure, even though I have said that 100 times. But I didn't see any of the giant drastic improvements that I felt like I was promised from meditation. And so then I was kind of like, well, this is silly. I was a lot more aware when I'm angry right now. Oh, I'm nervous right now. Oh, that's funny. But I didn't really feel like there was much else to that. And I didn't feel like that helped me calm down or amp up or whatever I needed at that moment. It was just like, oh, that's funny. I guess I'm, nervous or anxious or happy, or I'm incredibly happy right now. I didn't, that was it. And so that in and of itself also took a long, long time. And only now looking back on it, I have that sort of perspective of like, well, there's one thing that maybe changed, but in the weeks and months leading up to it, while I was supposedly developing that skill or trait or whatever, I didn't notice that. Just sort of happened. I try to, I try to do something once a day. And frankly, at the end of the day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you can find 5 minutes. And especially if you don't have to do anything, you don't have to go anywhere, you don't have to get changed. You barely have to.
Yes, my meditation and pajamas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
So I still try to do something because I still have this nagging fear that it's actually really good for you. So I try to do something every day. Usually, like you said, in the morning after a workout, I find it's very nice, but it was wild. Like I guess I was over expecting, and maybe I'm not describing how great I am now fully.
Let's talk about that now.
Yeah. But it didn't feel like a huge watershed moment.
Yeah. It's interesting. Do you think that that's also because you're coming from a much more physical world of like measurable change, that maybe you were equating similar outcomes or being able to measure things similarly?
I mean, that's as good an answer as I've ever heard,
But also, we take supplements and they don't give any measurable difference. What the heck?
All the time.
Why are we doing it? I don't know.
That's interesting too, because when you look at why people make behavioral change, or even why people would pick up a Muse, for example, there's going to be people who are coming from this preventative standpoint where they're like, well, nothing terrible's happened, but I'd like to prevent terrible things. And this kind of lives in even the supplement world that I'm thinking you're mentioning. You take things to maintain a certain status of health, make yourself, improve your longevity, improve all these beautiful things, but maybe you're not going to feel better because there wasn't necessarily a major painful incident to begin with that you're trying to get away from. That can be somewhat similar with meditation sometimes too. But Max, it was really interesting to hear you reflect on how you became much more attuned to your emotional states. And for a lot of people, that's really, really difficult / is one of the first steps to understanding that, feelings aren't facts.
Yeah. It's great. I guess you're right. I'm terrific. I'm sorry.
You're fantastic.
You've done it.
But it like the biggest, if I were to reflect on the biggest thing that meditation has done for me, is it's created the space between action and reaction. It's created this super brief pause for me to be able to take a millisecond, not just have an autopilot response and be like, oh, okay, adjust, respond. And that has extended to multiple areas of my life, largely in my interpersonal skills, how I process feelings, conversations, difficult things, how I process stress. All of those things have allowed me to create a better relationship with myself, as well as to start to understand there's a difference between this feeling of catastrophe and stress and all of these terrible things, and then really being able to take a step and say, what's really happening here? And then how can we respond in kind? And I think for a lot of people, that sounds really pleasant when I say it that way, but it took a really long time to be able to get to a state to use mindfulness as a tool that way. But it, I would say, has definitely had a profound impact on who I am today and how I navigate through the world.
Great.
So what I'm saying is I'm terrific.
Allie, how are you terrific?
I'm not terrific because I feel something and immediately scream about it. That feels like a tangible thing to work towards too, that, isn't necessarily what you're thinking when you start meditating. So that's cool as a goal.
Yeah, we have
go ahead.
I was just going to say we've kind of put when we look at the people who use Muse, or our buyer personas, if you will, we kind of look at 3 major categories of individuals and why they would want to use our device. And you guys might find this interesting. So category number 1 is we have biohackers who are really looking to improve the quantified self. They want data, they want analytics, they want to be able to have these tangible outputs so they can optimize performance. Then we have a group of individuals who are what we call the problem solvers. So these are individuals who have health issues and are looking to improve health outcomes, whether, I have issues with anxious thoughts, I'm having sleeping difficulties, I have been referred by a friend or family member or practitioner to support XYZ, and I've heard meditation helps. I'm going to come to Muse for that. And then we have the third category, which is more of these wellness seekers, kind of in the world of preventative health, looking to stress manage when they need it and do good things for their bodies from a less prompted space.
I do find that interesting.
So which ones are the biggest head cases? Which ones show the most improvement? Also, now after all this sort of, I'm assuming you have a ton of data on everybody. Girls, guys, old, young, is there anything you can see from sort of the aggregate?
Yeah, for sure. So when we first put product in market, which was around 10 years ago, we skewed heavy male, and older male. So think 50 to 55-year-old male was our primary demographic. Very small slice of the pie was female and not a huge younger audience. This largely had to do with probably interest in tech adoption. So we saw males in general being more open-minded about using technology to support meditation. But where we are now is we've actually seen quite a big shift. We have a little bit more equal representation from males to females. It still skews a little bit heavier on the male side. But we've also seen a much larger shift towards the 25 to 35-year-old age category. But our strongest and primary users and longest users of the device still tend to be around a 45 to 50-year-old male.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. It seems counter to what you would expect a meditator to be, right? It's like this female yogi that's all about feelings, and dudes are like, I don't need to regulate my feelings.
Push them down.
You're right. But then the dudes are like, wait, I can get better focus and I get data and I can win. Yes.
So
also both of your dude voices are spectacular.
Yeah.
I just have to pause and make sure you cut that out.
Well, this keeps nagging at me, this idea. So you can PR in meditating, right? You're getting these scores saying, oh, you stayed longer on the birds this time, right? As the biohacker category, I get this sense that I'm going to hit a plateau and I'm not going to get rid of X percentage of thunderstorm, no matter how really great I get at meditating. And that feels like it could be a source of frustration for me. Am I wrong in assuming that this plateau will happen? And how do you see people like me handling it?
Allie, you are not wrong in assuming that. However, I will tell you another cool feature of Muse. So 2 things come up in this. One, just to focus in on the whole idea of PRing at meditation. This actually gets really interesting because as soon as someone comes into the gateways of Muse, they're given these motivational factors, they're given this ability to see progress. As soon as you start getting a little bit deeper onto actually working with the practice, you also start to learn that meditation isn't just you sit down and every single time, if you try harder, it gets better. Every time you sit down is going to be a different session. Whatever happened for you that day, that month, that quarter, whatever stressful things are happening for you in the multitude of areas in your life are going to have a significant impact on your ability to sit and be still and quiet what's going on in your brain. So you'll quickly learn that also the harder you try, and you start to introduce judgment of I'm doing bad or I'm doing good, i.e. the thunderstorms here, I am doing bad. You start to realize that if you become fixated on that, that is actually not going to help you clear the thunderstorm. And that your ability to remove that judgment and that expectation is what is going to unlock your ability to move past that thunderstorm. And the same thing with the birds. So the whole thing with our Muse birds are, as soon as you hear the birds chirping, beginners get excited and then the birds fly away. So the whole idea is being able to be a curious and passive observer of what's going on for you. And the biofeedback is in the background, again, as this guide. But if you allow that to be the forefront of your experience, you're not actually going to be able to be this passive observer or this immovable mountain, if you will, through the ebbs and flows of the feelings and the thoughts and everything that happens for you in 5 minutes, which can feel like an eternity for some people to be alone with themselves. So Muse does this really beautiful thing where it can lure you in and it gives you these motivational and behavioral encouragement tools, but then it also allows you to understand what the depth of the practice is. So there's that. And then the other cool thing about the tech is every time you sit down to do a session with Muse, before you start your session, you actually have to go through what's known as calibration. And calibration allows Muse to take a measure of your baseline brain state and then give you results and experiences based on your baseline brain state. Because, for example, Max, your baseline brain state is going to look different than Ali's versus mine. And all of us are going to look different than, an experienced Buddhist monk who's doing this on the daily for many, many years. So Muse becomes really interesting because it evolves with you as you practice, and also challenging because it evolves with you during your practice.
So that's like a part of the user journey, is that you're communicating that it's about being a mountain, like how you're able to do. Yeah. Okay. It just seems like a very hard task versus just having a sticky product that keeps bringing you back because you're getting a notification from your aunt that she posted a photo.
It is a very tricky task, and it's a huge area of focus that we're leaning into this year. We have, so outside of the baseline experience that I had mentioned to you, we have different types of biofeedback experiences. For example, we have one that centers all about your heart rate. So you're able to hear your heart in real time in the sound of like a soothing drum, which is really cool because that helps you learn about interoception. Interoception is your ability to listen to your own body's cues. So, i.e., when you're hungry, you're like, I know what that is. I'm hungry.
I just wait for my devices to tell me when I'm hungry.
I am a robot. So that's a cool experience. We have one that helps you with posture. So you're sitting in the middle of a massive wind chime, and as you fidget or move, you actually are able to hear shifts in your posture based on the wind chime around you. And then we have another one that teaches you different breathing exercises and allows you to harmonize your breathing to a guided tone, and you get rewarded for that. But outside of those, we have a ton of educational content in programs and guided instruction to help individuals learn more of these, the softer skills about the practice that I mentioned. And that is really where the magic of meditation comes to life. And Max, when I was hearing about your experience, that's also where I wondered if maybe you would have had more of a protocol or maybe more guidance for you to be able to understand what you should be feeling or what's okay or what's normal or what's not. I wonder if that would have changed your experience for you.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it did feel like I was just,
just waiting in the sea.
Dark. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Headspace didn't help.
Well, Headspace, he would interrupt me every 5 seconds, and I'd be like, all right, guy. All right, I got it. I'm sitting here. Enough. I see the clouds. They're coming and going. I'm fine. Just shut up. All right. Just, you're very pleasant, but just shut up. You know. Shout out Headspace. Hopefully we'll get sponsored one day.
I started with Headspace. So I had a private practice. I was a naturopathic doctor before I worked at Muse, and I worked with anxiety and depression patients. And I used to give them Headspace to listen to because I loved their content. I still love their content. And then I started using Muse with them because I also wanted to be able to give them a sense of, why am I blanking on this word? Accountability. There you go. Which was important because when you're in private practice, your patients will lie to you all the time. You'll be like, did you take your supplements? Did you do the things that we talked about? And they'll be like, yeah, but I'm not changing. So this sounds like it's on you. And you're like, hold on.
Sounds like my piano teacher.
Yeah.
Did you practice? I'm like, oh yeah, totally. For sure. Beethoven, what's his name? Yeah.
But yeah, no, this whole idea of like needing more guidance and also meeting people where they're at is challenging because we have a variety of different types of users come in, people who have developed practices and, there may be a little bit more of a Zen master in their own right. They're going to come to Muse looking for different types of information as opposed to an absolute beginner who doesn't know anything, doesn't know what to expect, and doesn't know what the journey is supposed to look like for them. So we are putting a lot more focus into creating an experience that meets people at all levels, but also does a lot more hand-holding through that journey.
So when are we going to see the Muse sport? I need a Muse when I'm in a fist fight or
basketball.
when I'm
cleaning,
sprinting down the street, or you know what I mean? What's okay? Give us the secret sauce here.
Absolutely. So the secret sauce is Muse sport. So when we're talking about mental performance and recovery, that's what Muse does. And we actually have a pretty slick roster of big names and big teams who currently use or have used Muse to enhance their mental performance and recovery, which has made a massive, it's a game changer, right? Like mental performance and mental fitness and resiliency
game
is like just coming into more and more conversations now, especially coming out of the pandemic where, mental health in general is starting to be a topic that more and more people are taking note of. So we are seeing an amazing outreach of these sports performance coaches coming to Muse and saying, okay, we need something else here. And our athletes don't just want to be told to sit in a corner and be quiet and think nothing. How do we help them out?
Yeah.
And so Muse has really played a sweet spot in being able to support this whole idea of mental performance and recovery on both sides of the coin.
Max, it turns out you're better at fist fights after your year of meditation. You didn't even know it.
Perhaps you would avoid the fist fight.
I'm
with
feeling
some
stressed right now.
Okay, I'm asking this, but only because you guys named it digital sleeping pill. Can it be habit forming? Like, I can't fall asleep unless Nadia's walking me through a lavender field.
It's one of those things where I would equate habit formation to there are no side effects for this habit formation, in the same sense of where you might have a habit where you're like, I am stressed, I need to exercise.
What? Yes, maybe.
Yeah. So it's kind of the same thing, right? Like you have tools or adjunctive tools to support these types of needs. And the beauty about the Muse digital sleeping pill is there are no negative side effects. Okay. You use this and it helps you shut off your busy mind. We use this whole analogy of landing an airplane. So, when you're going through your day, you're flying high, your brain activity's going, you're moving through all of the millions of thoughts and tasks and decisions and conversations and all the things you need to move through. And at the end of the day, you need to slowly land the plane so that you can go to bed at night. But for a lot of people, it can be really difficult. And that's where they run into issues where they're ruminating and they can't shut down this busy mind. And that's really where digital sleeping pills come into play, because the idea is, and we have different types of digital sleeping pills for different people. So for example, someone who needs a more engaging story to kind of bring their attention forward and then drop them off, we have that. And then we have people maybe like Max, who's like, yo, don't talk to me, leave me alone. We have
Light
these
people,
very, very, please don't speak to me right now, I'm trying to sleep. We have individuals who are looking for no talking. We have individuals who want the most boring story in the world to bore them to sleep. So we have a variety of different types of digital sleeping pills to support different people on really shutting down this busy mind and helping them go into a restful state. But there are no side effects.
You mentioned landing the plane. I actually, when I first heard about this, I was like, oh, I would wear this on a plane. Do you hear users doing that? As opposed to taking an Ambien or getting drunk to try and pass out?
Yes.
Not that any of us have done that.
No.
What? It sounds like a tactic. I don't know.
From the rumor mill. Yeah, we have a lot of people, and traveling and jet lag and sleep disturbances and all of these sorts of things where people their first choice would be to maybe go to a pharmaceutical, but they're maybe looking to support not having that habit formation. That's where Muse could really come in to help support that.
Solid. And what is the future for Muse? What are you guys doing? When am I going to wear mine all day and have it be socially acceptable?
It's a chip in there.
What are we doing?
Or is it just like a sticker that we don't even see? It's under my hairline.
Imagine. Oh my goodness. So Black Mirror. We're doing a lot of cool things over at Muse. As I mentioned, I think one of the biggest areas of focus for the company right now is really continuing to refine the user experience that we have. So we're really building areas of the business to help support our community with content, working with our experts, kind of improving the core experience. And then on top of that, we're creating really cool partnerships with certain sports teams, developing custom content to support those sports teams, which is really cool because anybody in different sports knows. I mean, I was a swimmer, so if you're going to give me a meditation on how to do better on the field, it's just not going to work for me. So we're doing some
waterproof Muse.
So
I'll send
doing some really, thank you. Yes, we can have a little marketing cut. Doing some really cool on the content and community side of things, as well as gearing up for some pretty cool new features towards the end of the year to help people with their data and things like that. So stay tuned on that. Recently,
give us an exclusive.
I know. Well, I can't say more right now, but I would say that one of the biggest things that we're trying to improve is how do you get more actionable insights out of all the data that you get? So that's a big area of focus for us to continue working on improving how we give people really helpful and personalized tips on all of the data that they're getting with
Coaching
us.
marketplace, that's my guess.
Maybe.
Okay.
My guess is, what did you do today? Did you get drunk? Click had alcohol. Click had caffeine. Click had something or other. Or are you just fishing?
My devices already know that.
I'm taking notes right now, and also I'm going to be listening to this recording back in my marketing meeting, the product development meeting. I'm going.
Yeah, just skip to the end.
No, here's my actual guess for pets. I need to know if my dog, when he's freaking running while he's sleeping, is he okay? Should I wake him up? I don't know if he's chasing a rabbit, having a great time, or being chased by a bear and terrified.
You
Muse for dogs, you're welcome.
I mean, the pet angle might be difficult to get signal quality because we need to get skin to skin contact.
Right. But I will shave my dog's head for you. What the?
It's just like an outline of it. But you brought up a really cool area, which is dreams. So dreaming and lucid dreaming is a really cool area of research that's coming up. And also some of the Muse community's favorite areas of playing around with our device and seeing what different methods they can do in order to enhance their lucid dreaming experiences. So there's some cool stuff happening there. Most recently, we just launched a press release on we are developing a VR SDK to allow developers who are doing AR or VR experiences to use Muse to create a biosensor input to their experiences. I know.
It's like that thing. It's like manifesting in VR because your thoughts can affect what's actually around you. Whoa.
Yeah, it's super cool. That's so when we think about, Web3 and the metaverse and all of the cool ways that we're seeing VR and AR come to fruition, when we add this layer of really personalization of being able to use biosensor data to personalize your experience, there's a huge range of opportunities there. So really excited to get our, hands in the cookie jar of being able to make these partnerships and opening this up to find different developers who are interested. And then what else do we have going on? I mean, that's a pretty big one. Those two are probably our biggest ones. Yeah.
I cannot wait. I will keep an eye out for all of this. Sweet. Well, this has been enlightening, super fascinating. I'm going to go immediately meditate.
Hard. Meditate
just
as hard as
24 hours. Super hard.
Good.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to chat with you guys.
And where can the Fitheads find both of the Muse options?
Yeah, so you can find Muse at choosemuse.com. And you can find all of our products and services there.
Very cool.
Whoever snagged that website, immediate raise. That's so smart. I love that. That's so
funny. Choose.
All right. And thank you to the Fitheads. If you can rate and review on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a whole lot. And we'll see you next week.